Alright, Sentinel, more like Sentinuts. Okay, no, that's not good. Let's not make that a thing. That's not a good nickname. Do I cut that out or do I just keep going? I guess I'm gonna keep going. I'm already like 13 seconds in. Yeah, this Sentinel guy is very awesome. I think he is a very, very cool character. I think if you pull him from your banquet key thing, yeah, you are going to be very happy. So I'm going to talk about what he does while this fight plays out, because it's a bit of a longer one. It's a bigger health pool, so he will, take a bit more time, obviously. So yeah, Sentinel was buffed, and what his buff did was it just upgraded his current kit, right? His debuffs last longer, he inflicts more incinerates on the SP2, he ramps a whole lot faster, and he also gains some new things. Like, for example, whenever he's awakened and you place him on defense, yeah, the opponent that you're up against is going to be quaking in their boots, because once this man drops to 15% health, he will gain a lot of power. And if he gets to that SP3, there's a fun little surprise for them waiting. So yeah, on defense, he seems very scary. He also gains some immunities such as Cold Snap, which means you can't Kate Bishop him, so that's also very fun. And yeah, he still has the same playstyle, just, hit their block, get up your analysis charges, which do ramp faster, like I said, and then just spam your heavy attack or your SP2 to get some damage going. And that's really it. Still has the same SP1 with the heal block and the armor breaks, which is pretty helpful. Yeah, he is pretty much the same when it comes to rotation, which is good because his rotation was pretty, it was just fine, Additionally, there is one thing that changed. On his heavy attack, he inflicts Intimidate, which makes his rotation even easier now. So yeah, that's a great change for sure. Nothing got downgraded for this character, which is great, right? You don't want to see a character get downgraded, obviously, and especially Sentinel, who definitely would get hurt by that, right? Because he was a bit outdated. Now he feels updated, which is what we need for a tech champion. Even though, the tech class has been kind of popping off recently. You got Jack-o'-lantern, who I'm such a big fan of. I think I rate him really highly, and I don't know if everyone does that, but that's just my opinion on the character. And there's also Prowler, who a lot of people love, which is fair enough. There's also, okay, I'll be real, I think it's just Prowler and Jack-o'-lantern that have been popping off recently. I'm probably forgetting a couple of characters, but, this guy is a welcome addition to the tech class for sure. I think his kit is still more orientated towards the older mutant champions, with the heal block, and, that's kind of one of the very few mutant countering things he has, to be fair, but that still is very helpful for a lot of matchups, for example Weapon X, Sauron Toad. His immunities are still very clutch for mutant characters, for example Toad and also Iceman. Yeah, he is just a great all-around character. And he's cool because his mutant countering utility is just great general stuff as well. A heal block, hey, that's still very helpful for not just mutant champions. His immunities, hey, that's great for so many different things as well. That's a really cool thing about this champ. Another cool thing is that even when they block your special attack, you can still inflict your debuffs. And I showed the perfect example right there. Definitely on purpose. But yeah, this fight's going pretty well so far. Against mutant champions, this man is just supercharged. He ramps up so fast, and it's just insane, right? Against non-mutant characters, he does suffer a little bit. Think Isophene versus non-cosmic characters. Okay, that was the worst example to use because she is so new and hardly anyone has played her. But think Nimrod versus non-mutant champions. Speaking of Nimrod, there is something to talk about with Sentinel here, and it's one drawback of this champion. He was kind of caught in the crossfire of Nimrod, since, Nimrod is a shock DPS, he is an energy damage damage character, so is Sentinel. So when you try to stop Nimrod by giving nodes like, shock immunity, it does hurt Sentinel's DPS a little bit because that heavy attack shock does do really good numbers. However, he does kind of stray away from Nimrod because he does have access to Incinerate on the SP2, and I think that's like your big cash out. So yeah, if they are shock immune, I think you'll still be okay. But ideally, they are not immune to either shock or incinerate. If they're incinerate immune, it's not like the best time out there. This Iceman, for example, to be fair, it's still going very well because we can just utilize the armor breaks to increase our base damage output, and we can just use the shock effects to really get the damage going afterwards. So yeah, like he's not even bad versus incinerate immune characters. So it's kind of hard to stop this guy, but also not really, because I imagine versus incinerate immune non-mutants, it might be a whole different story. But yeah, this fight is still going very well. We drop a nice 33,000 heavy attack right there, 28,000 there as well. Keep going back in, drop the SP1 in a bit, I assume, or maybe I just don't, it just depends on how I'm feeling. And I'm feeling like I'm just going to save my power for the SP2, which is a-okay. So there we drop a heavy attack into the SP2, and yeah, the fight is over. That was not bad at all. Like I said, we couldn't use the SP2 there, so it was a bit of a longer fight, but it's also 9.1, which is insane health pools. But now we have some Act 8. No, I think it's still Act 9. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, guys. It's an old man Logan, okay? And he's back for round 2, and poor guy. He's just not ready for what's about to hit him. But yeah, so this is the node where you have to... Okay, you know what? Maybe he was ready because he got me there pretty good. So this node is the one where whenever you dash back, they get pierce passives. This also has the node where whenever you bait out their heavy attack, it removes the protection from them. So if you don't do that very often, it will definitely be noticeable. So yeah, you want to like always have your heavy attack, or like have their heavy attack ready to be punished. There we go for the SP2, some beautiful damage right there. And yeah, he's just so like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. On one hand, his animations feel very smooth. On the other hand, he feels like he's underwater like half the time. Here's the cool part though, his damage output did get a nice bump for sure, so you're not underwater for as long anymore, so he is definitely better in that regard. And yeah, that was like a minute fight, very solid stuff. Now we have this node that requires armor break debuffs, and this is a nice showcase of like what he can do outside of mutant matchups, right? Because no mutant characters have armor ups besides Iceman, so yeah, like he can just have this in his kit as well to counter other nodes, which is good. It's good for Killmonger, it's good for any tech character, like even Red Skull he can take now, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, like it's a great thing to have. It's in the SP1, so you can't really access it without sacrificing some damage output, but if you really need it and you really want to use Sentinel for the lane, he'll be a good option for sure. And the thing about Sentinels and lanes is that he is a very safe quester, because there is one trick up his sleeve that you'll see at the end of this video, because my gosh, it is just crazy. And you probably know what I'm talking about by now if you've seen like his deep dive, but if you haven't, you're in for a treat. It is so crazy. And when I noticed it for the first time, I was like, okay, this guy is absolutely crazy. And yeah, like I said, he is definitely, I get the vibes of a quester that's just very safe to play. I think Trappy said in his video, like, he's beginner friendly, which I definitely agree with. He is a very safe champion that if you are new to questing and like new to the game and you pull this guy, you are just going to be invincible, right? Because not only is he just really tanky with his base stats, his base health, and like, his armors that he gains, like if he's awakened. Additionally, he does have like, I think, base armor rating and crit resist, so it's hard to take him down for sure. He also has that trick up his sleeve that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, this fight is going pretty well. The armor breaks are just always there essentially, because once he is ramped up to 100 charges, he is able to get his special attacks for cheaper, which is really nice. But as you can see, the fight time was a bit up there, right? And I'll be completely honest, that was not the fastest fight, right? However, that was versus a non-mutant champion. And I'm like kind of 50-50. I like, on one hand, I'm like, maybe he isn't really meant for like anything but mutant champions. On the other hand, it's like, well, his utility is very good for like things outside of the mutant class. So it's like a bit split, right? On one hand, you're like, okay, his damage output takes a pretty big hit versus those non-mutant champions, but he can just do so much with his utility kit. So it's like, I don't know, man. He just feels like a for everything type of character. In Battlegrounds, he should be pretty nice against those mutant champions. But like I said earlier, he is caught in the crossfire of Nimrod because, yeah, like versus Onslaught, for example, he cannot take him, cannot take Bishop or Havoc. Like any shock immune, you will notice a bit of a damage decrease. So like Dust, he might not be the best for, but those Incinerates will actually help with the Dust debuffs. So yeah, and as you can see in that last fight, the fight time decreased by like 40 seconds, which is insane. That is such a big difference for an act, what was it? Act 8 fight? Yeah, an Act 8 fight. Such a big difference, right? So you will notice when you are fighting a mutant champion that, hey, the difference is crazy. It is definitely a very noticeable difference. But yeah, now we have this Safeguard matchup, and Safeguard is the next meta for Battlegrounds, so this is like a sneak peek of what he can do. However, there is an enhancement. It is called the Villain node, I'm pretty sure. Is it? I think so. That's like a pretty basic node name, so I might be wrong. But yeah, so you get increased duration on like all your debuffs if you're a villain. And Sentinel, he's no nice guy, so yeah, he is going to get the benefit with ease, because he is a very bad guy apparently. Just ask any mutant character in this game. So yeah, it won't be this fast in like the actual Battlegrounds meta, but he will be a very good option since he is essentially all DOT. So yeah, that's very exciting, and this matchup is over, so pretty sweet. Now we have this heal block lane, and you know, Sentinel on the SP1 has heal block. That's good for Weapon X, for Sauron, for Toad. It's good for like any regen matchup. Like I think he might be pretty good for Masochism in Alliance War, and like Buffet especially because it's a debuff, so maybe Masochism might not be the best actually, but you never know, right? It's Sentinel, he'll survive. That's like kind of his thing. He just is a tank, and I'm running Resonate here, so I'm like extra tanky, which is awesome. Resonate, pretty good mastery if you want to just add some tankiness to your character. And you pair it with Sentinel's already tanky, and you take 700 damage from an Apocalypse. That's wild, man. Like this guy just doesn't take damage, I feel like, which is awesome. But you also see later on in this video, he does take damage, and I'm incorrect. He definitely does take damage, and you'll definitely notice it. However, when you are taking damage, you still have that trick up your sleeve, and I will, you know, you'll see it in just a second here. But yeah, this has the tech node where like if the opponent tries to heal while heal blocked, you get Furies. So the fight time is of course very enhanced, but you know what, it's just fun, man. We're just having fun with this champion. If you want to see rank 3 gameplay, let me know, because I am definitely down to rank 3 this champion on the main server. So yeah, I'm really enjoying him, and it is because like he's really cool, but it's also because it's nice to revisit this character since he was my first ever 6-star champion. So this champion does mean a lot to me for sure. So it's just great playing him again, man. It just feels really good to revisit a character that you haven't played in a long time, because he was irrelevant for the longest time. And now that he's a whole lot better, it just feels so much better playing with the character, right? But yeah, this fight's essentially like almost over. Just got to go for the SP1 again, get the heal block, and yeah, a couple more heavy attacks should do the trick, especially with those crits. Yeah, those crits will end things pretty quickly. And to end off this video, I have this Domino boss fight. Now let's use some context clues, right? Domino, who punishes you for failing things. Resonate, a mastery where it is purely chance, like all the time. I did not think this through, but I am taking crit fail damage on every hit, to be honest. Like, I think it's pretty much every hit, right? Because every time I don't trigger the Resonate mastery, I take damage. And yeah, the Resonate Mastery has like a 13% chance to activate, so I'm taking a lot of damage in this matchup. And I even take a special attack to the face that Sentinel just tanks because he is such a machine. Literally, he is a machine. And you know, Sentinel, he is not doing so hot here, right? He is taking damage with every hit, and it's not even his fault. I think he's pretty decent for Domino, like when you don't run the Resonate Mastery, but when you do run it, avoid her like the plague, because my gosh, yeah, she is rough with this mastery. And like I said, it's not even Sentinel's fault, right? Like there is nothing he can do about like that chance, because usually there is no chance with this character. Everything is like a full 100% like guaranteed, and he even gains increased ability accuracy for his debuffs whenever he is ramped up. So like, yeah, he is usually safe from failing things, but when you have some you know, some external factors, it's kind of rough, right? But yeah, he is down to like 10% health, just about. She is down to like 30%. It's down to the wire here, and I do not know who's gonna win this, but it's looking like Domino has the edge, which is to be expected, right? It's Domino, and it's the Resonate Mastery. Sentinel had like no chance here, to be honest. He is down to like 10% literally. Yeah, there we drop the heavy attack, and it drains our power because whenever you do that, it does that. So yeah, don't heavy attack while at 3 bars if you want to use the SP3, but why would you want to use it anyway? It's kind of just there. But let's just drop it for some fun, right? Let's just see what happens anyway. Cool animation, pretty decent damage. And yeah, we gain all of our health back. That's insane. We just gained all of our health back, and we end the fight with 97% health because the SP3 once per quest will actually restore all of your health, which is why this is, I think, the best questing champion in the game now, given how safe he is usually, given how much utility he has, and given like, you know, the fact that he can regen all of his health and there is no penalty. That's insane. This character is crazy, and if you pull him, congrats. I think he's rank 3 worthy because he is also a very strong defender as well. So let me know your thoughts on Sentinel. Check out my narrative showcase video if you want to have a chance to win a 7-star Nexus crystal. And yeah, that's about it for me.